Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Ben the Human Plays Vagrus The Riven Realms. We're here in Quathos, the Dwarven Ruins, and we're about to go exploring a bit. So let's check out the outskirts first. Even on the outskirts of Quathos, the curtain wall that conceals much of the inner city does little to dissuade the unrelenting heat that permeates its bounds. The ruins inside are so dense, so eroded, and so utterly drenched in soot that it feels impossible to tell one thing from another, and yet the gestalt structures are distinct despite their ubiquity, disappearing with uniform desolation over the vast distances. Great stretches of the wall have fallen away, revealing the bleak but magnificent edifices of the dwarves were once capable of, and the heart of the city beyond the bleakness surrounding you. Far in the distance, the molten tongue makes its presence known. White-hot ichor spews forth from its slow-moving mass, a constant warning to any within its range, perhaps any inside the city proper or closer to the other side. At least out here you are shielded from the worst of it. Let's explore the outskirts properly. Both the overwhelming heat and the labyrinthine ruins make it difficult to find and secure paths inward. There are many options, but most of them are perilous one way or another. The ways to perish are almost too numerous to list. One could be crushed by crumbling rooftops, get hopelessly lost, fall into open chasms that elicit certain death, or die from heat exhaustion. You use vantage points to identify entry points, and the maze-like streets beyond the wall are disheartening to see. The scorching heat emanating from the lava river beyond the ruins is just bearable here on the outskirts, and you believe that turning a wrong corner in Quathos would expose you to the heat that can kill people way too fast. You can make out some of the greatest landmarks. They appear to be standing after all this time, but actually reaching them is another story entirely. Occasionally, you hear strange noises on the wind. Guttural howls, animalistic grunts, and screams. Bestial, yet somehow strangely familiar. It is some consolation that from here you can get a fair picture of the situation before heading deeper into the city, yet only a fool would deem such a venture safe. Let's not go into the city in search of valuable loot yet. We might try that after searching for Barandar. Many already suspect Barandar is dead, yet without confirmation, such suspicion is not enough to return to Carindar and his retinue. Yet merely contemplating a foray into Quathos, especially beyond the curtain wall, inspires a deep sense of dread. An endless sea of structures spans out inside the lost city, an odd landscape of warped stone and metal that once was a beacon of progress in Zarine's Third Age. The Inventor Kings inspired many, and in some ways this city is their greatest legacy. And so your Komis look to you, their gazes posing a silent but certain question. Is it time to journey toward the heart of Quathos? Only the bravest souls should ever dare. Yeah. Let's bring our A squad. With your team chosen, the time is set to set out is upon you. You push the dread from your heart and look towards the labyrinthine alleys and winding streets of Quathos, determination taking hold. You will find out what happened to Barandar and his allies, come what may. Leaving the shelter behind you, you slip into the city's outskirts beneath the shadow of the gestalt edifices that conceal its vastness. The curtain wall looms close by. Suddenly, you feel small and insignificant, like a tiny beetle dropped into a swath of desert brush. Soon enough, however, you reach a gap in the wall, a gap which, at least theoretically, should take you to the southwestern part of the city proper. From here, the confines of the path forward are laid bare. Crooked, half-melted and deformed buildings that sometimes rise higher than any you've ever seen. Some are best described as cyclopean, though among these are rows and rows of small, squat, square-shaped structures. The true scale of Quathos is dizzying. It must have been one of the greatest cities ever, now reduced to a scorching, barren labyrinth that offers little, save a base amount of protection from the molten tongue that encroaches upon it from the north and northeast. You draw a long breath, exhaling as you lead the way through this maze-like streets and mangled structures, and so it begins. Man, the art for this game is just good. At length you pass into Quathos through the gap in the wall. Covering a good distance, you pass through the foreboding alleyways, and all but stumble over piles of debris that make the going all the tougher. The streets are confusing and confounding. Where once there was a sense to their layout, one presumably planned and studied and directed by visionary dwarves of the Third Age, they are now disrupted and warped. The shaking of the ground, which is regular and accompanied by a low rhythmic rumbling, is partly responsible, as is the heat exposure. Even the most novel of architecture can become unrecognizable under such conditions given time, and plenty of time was given to this place to see it decay. You wonder what the city's planners might have thought about all this were they alive today. Whatever they may or may not have thought, you are presented with a problem in here and now. There is no time for indulgences, the least of all in these circumstances. The labyrinthine nature of the streets has left all dejected, and a few options present themselves. Climbing one of the tallest buildings nearby could offer you a vantage point to help you get your bearings, yet it would be a risky venture indeed. Persevering beyond might be sound too. As always, it is you who must decide. Climbing gear. Oh, I didn't put my climbing gear back on? Oops. Well, we succeeded, thank God. I guess I should always have that equipped. You identify a suitable target nearby, which you and another companion try to climb. You must fight against the scalding air and fixtures to scale it, using gloved fingers to grab onto protruding pieces of metal and stone, employing both strength and dexterity as your ally. The texture and paucity of significant features, most of which have eroded, warped, or been destroyed, make the task particularly challenging. After a time, you get into a flow with it, and you chance a glance below and see a companion bringing up the rear, pleased. You hop from one window frame to another, and your fingers find purchase. Up and up you ascend, until at last you've past the tops of the buildings that surround you, and find a magnificent view of the city atop what must have once been a stable rooftop. You can also imagine the dwarves of the ages past appreciating such a view. Up here, unshielded by other structures, the heat from beyond the city hits you like a hammer. A test of will is required simply for you to get a hold of yourself. Far in the distance, the Grand Archives beckon, a colossal ziggurat pockmarked by round holes the size of small buildings. There are other landmarks too, some of which you have seen in Barandar's journal and map. They inspire an awe that catches in your dry throat as your gaze explores them. You take a brief time to study them all. A gigantic statue of metal near the city's center, now melted and disfigured under the duress of the sweltering heat. The broken shell of what must be the Hall of Kings, a once cyclopean structure now torn asunder as if shattered by a falling star, standing precariously on the edge of the molten tongue, the intimidating silhouette of a fortress to the east and its exterior blackened from soot, half buried in ash, and an impossibly tall tower once clearly used as an observatory, its colossal-looking glasses bent out of shape by centuries of heat, like everything else around here. Unable to endure full exposure any longer, you carefully yet swiftly descend, having a fair idea of how to proceed toward Barandar's bearings, the Grand Archives. Pushing deeper into the maze, everyone's steps come to a sudden halt when a bone-chilling roar shakes the very stones around you. Its unsettling nature is hard to place. It is both guttural and inhuman, yet there is an eerie familiarity to it that you cannot put into words. Someone begins to say something, but before they can, another howl ripples through the air, this time louder and closer. You look about frantically, seeking its source. No one sees anything, and then a third roar, more distant this time. Or is it? You cannot be certain. A silence descends upon the maze, the mood shifting with it. These roars do not tell you enough about the threat that may walk with the ruins with you, but none can deny that they do not bode well. You must tread lightly and warily. Eventually, everyone continues forward. The deeper you go, the more confusing the maze becomes. It resists any attempt to decipher it. Narrow streets wind to and fro, hollow buildings emanate dread, and tiny alleyways flanked by buildings that begin to resemble monstrous shapes seem to haunt you, reaffirming your sense of insignificance. You feel trapped, constricted by the heat, and still you are reminded you must lead the group out of here, especially so with the scalding air threatening to choke or overwhelm you. Luckily, climbing up the vantage point earlier helps you orient yourself. Nice. See, I knew we did that for a reason. You push through the worst of it, finding sense in the madness. Despite the constant oppressive heat, a sense of relief washes over you when the maze emerges into a massive square crowded by taller buildings. Your eyes are drawn to its center, where a toppled yet largely intact statue that depicts a curious figure. By no means does he appear to be a typical dwarven monarch. He's bereft of the robust helm that is standard fare among many historic representations, instead favoring a tall ornamental headpiece woven with elaborate runic decorations. An intricate robe adorns his noble form, although his angular proportions seem to insist upon a purpose beyond mere ostentation. In one hand he holds a book, while the other, where the pinky finger has broken off, is fixed with an authoritative gesture. Even after all this time, the statue's beauty and craftsmanship are hard to deny, and yet the stone dwarf's carven visage has cracked and crumbled completely, leaving the monument disconcertingly faceless. At the statue's base, a plaque remains mostly legible in Imperial Common. Damas IV, Inventor King, he who shall usher our peoples into a new era. You ponder if he did, your mind lost to a moment of quiet reflection. You stay a while longer to appreciate the relic of an age where Zareen was a very different place, and then you depart the square. Uh-oh, we have a low chance of success. Onward the group presses, precariously edging its way between the two taller buildings on the far end of the square. Perhaps for the first time, a faintly optimistic moment grips all present. There is a sense that you are making definite progress, and that while the trials and tribulations of this place are many, finding Barandar may be possible. However, he and his close allies came to the Grand Archives. Any semblance of positivity is at once shattered when the rumbling intensifies, and a fully fledged earthquake begins to shake the entire city. Your gaze is immediately drawn to the warped structures that form up on either side of you, their unwieldy tops and roofs and sheer stonework plummeting to the ground. Rush to cover with all haste. We succeeded again. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Cover is found inside of a building that is bent out of shape but still retains its sturdiness. Its foundations are hard and strong, and even though you cannot be sure what it once was, they offer support for the haphazard tangled mess of stone and metal that protects the structure at its top from the worst of the quake. When the dust finally settles, you move out back into the streets, eyes wandering over the slew of debris and destruction at your feet. It does not take much to realize that dashing to cover almost certainly saved your life. If even one section of the stonework had hit you, you would be dead. Your companions, too, remain unhurt, perhaps spurred on by your decisive actions and swift movements. Either way, you return to the path before you, determined to persevere. An uneasy silence descends upon the streets and alleyways you traverse, only disturbed by the constant low rumbling of the aftershocks that holds until you hear the roars again. Guttural, debased, and chillingly familiar, like a harrowing reminder that you are being hunted. They are louder, again, and closer. Fear grips everyone, demanding action. Someone suggests hiding from the threat, and you begin to consider it. When more howls follow, you deem your companion's suggestion to be prudent, so you find a windowless structure with a single doorway and settle down by it, waiting. Weapons are drawn and strategic positions are taken, all in preparation for the possibility that they, whoever they are, might find you. More roars echo through the streets of Quathos. They are coming, of this much you can be certain. There are suddenly other noises. The roars continue, intermingled with bouts of heavy breathing, angry stomping, and sniffing. Maybe they are beasts? They seem to rummage through the ruins, seeking out treasure or prey. You judge there to be at least 3, yet you cannot say for certain. Time marches forward agonizingly while you and your companions signal and whisper to each other, mostly not daring to do the latter, for there is no telling how adept their senses are. Tense moments become steadily worse until you realize they are scouring the large building next to yours, before, in a strange reversal, they roar in unison and stomp off together, having perhaps found something more of interest. When you come out of hiding, you draw a long, deep breath and are reminded of scalding hot air. The creatures have left nothing to tell who or what they are, yet a stench lingers, one that causes your stomach to churn in disgust. Slowly but surely, you return to the path that leads deeper into the heart of Quathos. Wherever the unseen aggressors are, you are given a respite from their unwelcome presence. On and on you push. The endless streets and alleyways and buildings are always there, always lifeless. A stark reminder of the peril you are now in. Keeping an eye or two peeled for signs of Barandar and his retinue is always on the forefront of your mind. So when you see a set of buildings where cellars appear to be open, you are afforded a rare moment of consideration. Their dark, gaping entrances might even be considered inviting, if not for the many risks involved. And while Barandar's group was not here for treasure hunting, others might have picked such vaults clean. You decide what your course of action is and fast. I have two minds about this. Part of me is like, would they have gone in there and left like some clue behind as to their whereabouts? Or are we risking ourselves by taking time to go explore these cellars? I guess there's only one way to find out. But we got into a fight. You enter and look around at several cellars, finding them miraculously intact despite the rumbling earth that ravages and rearranges these buildings, leaving them unrecognizable in the process. The stench of brimstone fills your nostrils, making your stay short and revealing a solidifying truth you had already suspected. The ground beneath these structures is connected to other deeper passages, and more troubling, lava from the Fury's whip has already made its way inside. Pushing these thoughts from your mind, you focus on the valuables. It was right to think that no one had the foresight or the daring to come here and search the vaults, which is very much to your advantage, for there are tablets and jewelry, gadgets, and even glowing runes. The call of one of your party jolts you to attention. Their voice is frantic and urgent as you rush down to assist them. You see there are other things in the cellars. Undead born of flame and ash emerge, their movements deliberate and intent clear. You corral the rest of your companions into action and get ready for a fight. Fiery undead? Oh yeah, we fought you guys before. I probably shouldn't have brought Nadir now that I think about it, because she only does fire damage. But, you know, the best plans of mice and men. Let's dominate you. I don't know if you can dominate undead, honestly. Let's boost, Finderath. And then focus fire the same enemy. He's gone. Chain lightning. And now they get a chance to attack. Good block. I don't know what these guys' moveset is. What's your deal, Cinderborn? He rushed down to me. You rushed down to me again? Very rude of you to continue attacking Elani. And I've been clouded. Let's get rid of this dangerous looking dude. Alright, now we focus fire on the weaker undead. I don't think they can be bled, but we might as well just like nuke them down. Nice crit. Dominate? I don't think it's working. I feel like bringing Nadir was absolute folly. Good hit. Duck. Or, you know, block it with your shield is totally acceptable as well. Not too shabby. The undead are put down for once and for all. Their ashen remains crumble and scatter across the cellar floor. A fair offering remains of what you began to gather up earlier, along with some extras. A good haul when all is said and done. You gather everyone together and tell them to move out. Jewelry, treasure, tablets, rune fragments, and a dwarven gadget. You walk carefully through the ruined streets, stopping here and there for a breather to make the ever-escalating heat bearable. In one such brief period of respite, your eyes are drawn to the blackened sky above, where curious fiery lights dance and drift like floating embers. The lights follow a deliberate trajectory, and upon a closer inspection, you see they appear to be misshapen specters of people, their limbs slow-moving and spasming in pain as their fiery glow frames them against the darkening sky. They are in a procession, formless flames that are an echo of a time long past, a time, it seems, when agony they convey was very real. Sadness tugs at your heart as you watch them fade from view as they pass on toward the west, a quiet, lethargic column of those who came before. Those whom you will never know and nobody remembers. You cannot help but be taken by the sight and feelings. It inspires deep within. Your companions comment on what transpired in a low, whispering flurry of guesses, which spread among the group. There are many possibilities. The remains of ancient dwarves or humans, adventurers or opportunists, spirit or specters destined to cling to this world, but none of them are satisfying answers. After a moment of reflection, you double your efforts, pressing forward with renewed vigor. The path you are on brings you to a great and wide avenue that once connected the inner city and the outskirts. The road has been torn asunder by the manifold quakes that plague this place, but the cobblestones seem to have melted together somehow afterward. Structures that used to stand alongside it have collapsed, creating a wall with few openings. As you approach the avenue on a road that leads into it, you hear a periodic screeching sound accompanied by low rumbling. At the same time, scorching hot air blows into your face off of the main road. You approach the corner carefully, shielding your face from the periodic hot wind, and peek around it. You can see down the avenue as far as the city center, which you judge to be half a mile from your current position. There, an infernal light glows with malevolent radiance that you must avert your gaze. It must be the source of the scalding wind that blasts along the Great Road every 10 seconds or so. The scorching current of air is beyond anything you have felt thus far, and even a rudimentary test reveals that it could severely burn or maim any one of you, not to mention knocking you over with ease if it hits you out in the open. It is almost as if the accursed city were breathing. Extreme caution, therefore, is crucial. You test the unbearable currents alongside your komace over and over, until having understood that it blows through intermittently, you could reach a conclusion. You must cover the width of the avenue with all haste, moving quickly to the other side. Timing is everything. You can only run after the worst of it has subsided, and so you wait for the scorching wave of heat to blow through the avenue, counting as you do. Do we get benefit for owning the heat-resistant crystal? Apparently not. And then you make a run for it. Succeed! Haha! You launch yourself into action, having caught between a mad dash and a fully fledged sprint. You vault over fissures and jump between sections of protruding ground, and avoid all but the worst of the terrain. Across the avenue, cover from the wind offers itself behind a collapsed tower. Impeccable timing helps you reach it in the nick of time. The wind's foreboding screeching howl heralds the current's coming. When it blasts through, you are all safe and sound. It whips about in the crescendos, but as far as you are concerned, you are very much in the clear now. Ahead, sheltered streets lead deeper into the northwestern part of Quathos. You take the new path and press on. The path winds and splits, and as you traverse, it seems to converge on ruins of what looks to be a multi-storied tavern. Auxiliary buildings, ale breweries, weathered tables, game halls form the lay of the streets around it, belying its importance. Once upon a time, many folk likely gathered here. Knowing that few have ventured this far into Lost Quathos, you explore it in earnest. There is no telling what you might find within. Inside the tavern, doors and rooms of varying heights and widths, hinting at a clientele comprised of many races. The tale of Quathos being a multicultural city where races of the Riven Realms, mostly dwarves and humans, came together are well known. The interiors of the rooms themselves support your conclusion. Faded leaf and vine patterns adorn the walls in one room, intricately inscribed heraldry of long-lost dwarven clans in the next. There are even places for imperial symbols of the Third Age, unmistakable pieces of art or patronage to what must have been a trading house, or noble lines now relegated to the annals of history. There's a beauty to them all, even after all this time. A bitter sense of irony leaves a dry taste in your mouth, a sadness about a world so far removed from your own that a part of you wishes you could go there. Perhaps surprisingly, however, there is no loot, no valuables nor trinkets, neither tablets nor art would fetch a pretty changer. It all must be left behind, forgotten. You emerge from the tavern, out in the heat-choked courtyard, and you see a pile of white detritus and ash. You would not think much of it were it not moving all of a sudden, and in moments you realize it is birthing an abomination. Born anew of misshapen and fossilized limbs and heads, it rises and lumbers towards the group, groaning dully as it does. From the ruined buildings that surround the tavern, other undead join the fray, their skeletal limbs part of flame and armor. Remnants of citizens now lost and eager for revenge. An ambush, maybe? To battle! Oh, a Bone Lord! I think maybe Nadir can hurt him. Possibly. Alright. Stab the knight guy, the charged shambler. Let's test out Nadir. She hurt him, but not by much. Ooh, nice crit. Good to see. Rush forward and hit this dude. Also a nice crit. Let's see if we can't finish him off. Not quite. Skornar will have to do. Good job with the dodge and the miss. He's gone. And then lightning. Oh, he blocked it. Stabby, stabby. He's got 2 armor, which makes it difficult to wound him. Good crit. Man, that's 2 in a row. Alright, they seem to be resistant to magic in most of its forms, which is kind of interesting. Good crit, good crit. Nicely done, team. The last of the undead are finally brought low. You step over their crumbled remains and navigating the area a while longer, you find snaking streets that lead northwest. The paths converge upon another square of lost grandeur, and its size alone is impressive. You can immediately see a half-melted plaque near its entrance. Checking on it as well as Barandar's notes reveals it to be Inventor's Square, almost a place of legend and as luck would have it, a landmark that positions you along the correct path. It is a relief to know that you have stayed on course. That relief affords you a moment of respite, which in turn gives you the time to study your surroundings. The heat here, too, does not feel as invasive. The spacious plaza before you is sheltered by multi-storied buildings of every kind. A distant rumbling accompanies you as you rove about, taking it all in. Monuments here are too many to name. They line the perimeter of the plaza with smaller openings between them, offering paths to the buildings that surround the square. There are ominous pillars, tall obelisks, small triumph arches, as well as statues of dwarves and even the occasional human, all accompanied by plaques, most of which are distorted beyond recognition. At the far end of Inventor's Square, you can see a main street that goes towards the northwest. There's much to see here, and sheltered as you are, it may be worth having a proper look around. Let's spend some time exploring the monuments. In most cases, the statues and plaques that accompany them are too faded or damaged to discern. There is, however, a tone and tenor to them all, one that transcends the bounds of time, the honoring and acknowledging of the inexorable march of progress. Inscribed on a central obelisk that, despite the elements, had stood the test of time, hundreds of names and notions. According to the plaque, this is the Pillar of Patents of the year 2788-13, but you cannot comprehend any of the inventions by their esoteric names, and the names of the inventors mean nothing to you. Walking along the line of stones, you soon find a stoic dwarf clad in ornate garb and breastplate. An emblem, a key, and a pair of measuring tools is embossed on the chest piece, and which he bears proudly. Inscribed on the plaque below, you read the following: Urgrim Hargathnar, Guildmaster of the Masons Guild. Then, in a smaller print, commissioned by the guild from Master Dimmer Arlofsson for 542 golden kinnigs. Scrawled into the metal under it are the words miser. Graffiti, mayhaps? A smaller statue close by is of Cheeky Boriman, though nothing else from the text beneath survives. The dwarf depicted has an unkempt beard, manic eyes that bore into the viewer, and a wild grin that lends an unsettling appearance to him. A tool belt bedecked in odd gadgets and tools is strapped over his loose pair of overalls. The next statue whose details survived is of a long-bearded nobleman with a distant expression. His plaque is plain, Thane Oder Inventor. A much larger prominent plaque farther along commemorates the anniversary of Inventor's Day in the year of 27814, alongside a list of guild and individuals that commissioned the monument. There are hundreds of other monuments, but you feel the urge to press on. Okay, I think we should pause the episode there and we will continue our exploration of Quathos next time. So if you guys enjoyed the episode, please click the like button, it helps me out a lot. If you want to see more episodes of Vagrus The Riven Realms or the other videos I have going on the channel, subscribe to the channel, make sure you have your notifications on so you know when the next videos go live. But until next time everybody, I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye everybody!